Hello friends, welcome back to the channel. This is your brother Lawrence. How was your weekend? Mine was very good by God's grace, and I believe that you had a wonderful weekend too by the same grace of God. Over the weekend many things happened, and I'm going to break them down right here on this channel.
ADRA in the last 10 years has gone down the more progressive path.
There was a conversation or discussion about ADRA concerning their previous allegation about immigration and funding issues. Okay, and in this discussion, Pastor Dr. Conrad Vine made some statement that, friends, you need to hear. So without wasting any time, let's get into the discussion and listen to Dr. Conrad Vine.
As regards to the NGOs, NGO didn't really become a popular thing until our current government defunded it. Locally, we had Fox News call out the Seventh-day Adventist Church as being part of the group that was bringing people across the border illegally. What do you have to say? Is the church part of bringing, under this NGO status, people across into this country illegally, and are they part of the human trafficking, children's slavery that was promptly discussed on these news outlets?
Yeah, so ADRA was receiving grants from USAID under President Biden's administration. There were tens of millions of dollars coming to ADRA. ADRA has received USAID grants for decades, actually. But under President Biden, there was a very strong focus on supporting migrants who moved up through Central America up to the southern border. And I'm not sure about ADRA US, but ADRA in Canada was certainly providing food, medicine, telephones, cash, sleeping supplies for people as they moved up through the Central America as they migrated north. And they were essentially supporting the movement of large numbers of people up to the southern border. And it wasn't, yes, there were some genuine refugees, but there was an awful lot of trafficking of children going on across the southern border. So I watched a promotional video from ADRA Canada where they were kind of sharing the good news of all the help they were giving to these people moving north. Technically, if you're a refugee, you find refuge in the next country. The fact they're migrating across countries tells you they're not refugees in the classical sense, because they don't meet the definition of refugee at that point. So yes, the ADRA Canada was receiving a lot of money for this. I'm not sure what programs ADRA International, which is what we call the US version of ADRA, was running for that. I haven't seen any specifics on that. But in general, ADRA in the last 10 years has gone down the more progressive path. And when I used to work for ADRA in the mid-90s, the early 2000s, I noticed at the end of my time with ADRA that more and more people were joining ADRA who didn't appreciate a more conservative Adventist viewpoint of the world. And just like the healthcare system is used as like a dumping ground for administrators from the church if they fall out of favor with the hierarchy, so ADRA increasingly was attracting people who were very, very progressive in their ideology. And ADRA has gone very progressive overall in its worldview. Hence, ADRA is now down at the World Climate Change Conference down in Belém, and they're pushing for the same things that the UN and the Jesuits and the other groups are all pushing for. So ADRA as an institution has changed significantly from where it was in the early 1980s, where we used to be called SAWS, that's the Seventh-day Adventist Welfare Services. And they started out by providing refugee camp support for refugees in Southeast Asia. And if you go to Thailand or Cambodia today, you will find that almost all of the church leaders became Adventists in the refugee camps run by ADRA in Thailand and Cambodia. And so ADRA was a welfare service, but it was also engaging in gospel sharing. But you find that less and less in ADRA programming today. And ADRA is more and more a humanitarian agency that helps people without regard for religious or other affiliation. And in my experience with ADRA, brother, some country offices are led by country directors who view the humanitarian work as the leading edge for the gospel, and it's very intentional. And some country offices are led by country directors who are strictly humanitarian, and most of the workers are Muslim or some other faith. And it's Adventist in name, but it's run by people of other faiths. And so it's really kind of it's like a patchwork quilt out there of the culture in different country offices. But yes, you're right. Fox News did highlight ADRA as one of the agencies that was receiving large grants from Biden's administration to help funnel migrants north. And I think, when they asked in Congress, I think the federal government lost up to 80,000 minors, I think 23 or 2024. How can the federal government lose that many children? Something's going on, and it looks like child trafficking. And I think that if we were part of that program, then ADRA was complicit in child trafficking. And so we need to ask ourselves, how much do we want to support an agency that is complicit in this kind of activity? I recognize that me saying these things isn't going to win any friends in Silver Spring, but on behalf of those disappeared children, somebody has to say something about this. And if disappeared children see ADRA logos on the side of vans and trucks while they're being trafficked, what message does that send them about the Adventist Church? So I think that ideally there'll be root and branch reform at the General Conference. There hasn't been any change, a substantive change, since the General Conference session. I don't think there will be. And so I think it's just going to be business as usual for ADRA in the United States going forward.
All right, friends. So you heard everything that was said by Dr. Conrad Vine. And this issue of ADRA came up, I think, 2 or 3 months ago, and we made videos about that. And even we saw that Pastor Ted Wilson came in to defend ADRA, telling the whole world that ADRA never engaged in trafficking or any other thing. All right, you saw that video. Let me play part of that video for you to know what I'm talking about.
There have been some strange faults, rumors, innuendos, allegations that have spread through social media and through other forms of communication that are completely false, such as ADRA is involved in illegal immigration. ADRA is supplying double salaries to board members. You can go on, and we may hear a little bit of that today to refute ridiculous allegations. I want to just tell you, most of you have already seen absolutely erroneous things on social media. You cannot believe everything you read. You must understand and dig into anything you have a question on in order to find out what is truth. And I hope that all of you, as executive committee members of the General Conference, will be some of the greatest promoters of the Adventist Development and Relief Agency, and that you will correct people when they tell you, oh, but I heard that they're doing this and they're doing that. Absolutely false.
So that was Pastor Ted Wilson defending ADRA at that time. At that time, there was so many news stories about ADRA and, yeah. So apart from Pastor Ted Wilson, there were some top leaders of ADRA who also came to defend ADRA concerning the allegations that were dropped on the organization. All right. So the question is, has ADRA truly changed over the years?
ADRA as an institution has changed significantly from where it was in the early 1980s.
And if ADRA has changed, why has it changed? Is it that ADRA is now joined together with government organizations or with the government? Is it that there are external bodies controlling ADRA or influencing ADRA in one way or the other? Is it that the Jesuits are controlling ADRA, friends? I have mentioned it, yes. Is it that the Jesuits are controlling ADRA, friends? You know, what actually surprised me was this. I saw this on ADRA's website. Just look at what is on the screen. COP30, from the Amazon to the margins, justice, compassion, love. And when you see this place, you see COP30, from the Amazon to the margins, justice, compassion, love. When you scroll, you see the advertisement of COP30 right here on ADRA's website. You know, and you see the climate change agenda of the papacy promoted right here. So, friends, like, it makes me think twice. Like, what is really going on? What is really going on? Is ADRA promoting the climate change agenda of the papacy, or like, what do you think about this? Because COP30 being featured on ADRA's website, I don't really get it. I don't really get it, friends. So share your thoughts in the comments. As I said earlier, there are more stories coming up right here on this channel. So please, if you have not subscribed to Bro Lawrence channel, I encourage you to subscribe, all right? Because here we share and comment on events that are taking place both within and outside of the church. All right, so thanks for watching. See you again. God bless.